Hey guys, Tattoo for You, Richard here. It is time for a tips, tricks, and whoopsies video. Yeah, look at that hair. It is phenomenal. Look at that, except for the gray. The gray makes it not. I'm so hot, like I'm drowning. Somebody save me, stupid camera. I have it on a really tall thing right now, so it's kind of up high. We are going to do some. It's all about the bass, baby. Let's make it level. Somebody asked me the other day about how I did my basses. He wanted to see a bassing tutorial. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a bassing tutorial. I might do a couple of bassing tutorials coming up because I have some different ways I do things, but this is the main way. This is my standard go-to kind of bassing dealio. I'm gonna get everything gathered up. We're gonna go table down and we're gonna get rocking on it. I'm not gonna paint it. I'm just gonna show you my steps of putting it together, if that makes sense. Yeah, so let's go table down. Now. Alright guys, here we are table down for this bass tutorial. So what you're gonna need is grit. No, this isn't oatmeal, it's good for your body. This is where I keep my grit. Now in there I have sand from my backyard. What is that stuff called? Ballast for like model train users. Model train builders use. And like a little bit of fish tank rock, which is the same as the ballast, so you don't need that necessarily. But I would say sand, like backyard dirt or sand, a size up from that, and then a size up from that. Like I said, I got multiple layers in here. So you got some really fine grit, and then I got the bigger grit, which is good for rocks. Like I said, this is how I do my basing. It's more for, a friend asked me to do it, so I'm going to do it for y'all so y'all can see it. I'm going to use these MDF bases, but they work just the same on Games Workshop bases. I just have these extra. I might use this for a towel figure. I don't know, we'll see. But what I do first on the MDF bases, I don't think it's necessary, but I just do it just to be safe. But I score it. You can kind of see in the light, I just kind of score the top of it to give it a little bit of rough texture. And then now, the other thing you'll need besides your bases and your grit, you don't have to use this, but I like it just to build things up. Corkboard. I got a pack of 4. They're like, I got 2 4-packs for like $8. It was like $1 a sheet. No, it was less than that. It was way less than that, actually. I can't remember. You need a paintbrush. Elmer's glue. Now this is Elmer's glue and water. My regular Elmer's glue is actually in the living room, so yeah, I'm stuck out without that. This is isopropyl alcohol. I just used this plain Jane 70% junk. And it is pretty much that much alcohol and then the rest with water. And that's just kind of a wet water to help it move. Some people add dish soap to it to give it a little, actually you can make to just as a flow aid, but I think this works out fine. I just grabbed a random assortment of bits to use that I'm gonna put on these. So let's get your bases prepped. So the first thing I'll do, I need some super glue too. And super glue for me is to put on the bits that I'm going to use. Oh, please tell me this didn't leak. It totally did. I came in here, my super glue was on its side, and it leaked, and the lid sealed shut. Give me a second, guys. All right, I'm back. Got it off. It's all gunked up now. Damn it. Darn it. Darn it. Anyway. So, I put my grit in this little cup, this little bowl here, just to make it easier to access, so I don't have that big old obnoxious thing in the way. Alright guys, here we are. I found my little scooper duper thingy. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this stuff ready. Like, I just cleaned the mold lines and stuff off this because it needed some cleanup. So I got that ready to go. That's too big for this base, in my opinion. I mean, it would look kind of cool. I'm going to trim it down. But no, we're going to put it on this base with some buildup of cork and some other stuff. And I'm probably going to do the same thing with this drone here on this smaller base. I just got other little bits like this canteen that I'm going to put on one of the bases just to kind of add a little extra to it. So first things first, I figure out what I want to do with the cork. Cut it, trim it, break it, however you want to do it. I'm going to just kind of trim this down a little bit. And I don't ever throw this stuff away. Any of these little chunks and stuff like that, that's still good usable stuff. So I will put down some super glue. And then I will stick the cork on. Just like that. Alright. I know this stuff is like, why am I looking at this? This is just ridiculous. I already know how to do all this garbage. Well, because sharing is caring, guys. You don't understand that? That's who I am. I'm sharing. So I'm going to break this one down a little bit. Do trim it some more. Trim down the edges. Trim, trim, trim. Shake the camera. Trim, 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 and shake the camera. Alright. So then we're going to put some super glue on this base. Just in some random spot. Plop on this. I'm going to go back with this little smaller piece here. Trim down these edges. And then I'll put a little super glue on top. I want some height on this bad boy. Let's get some height up in here. Now what this base is probably going to be for is I have a broadside. So I'll probably use this for my broadside, which is going to be part of my... If you're following along... Actually, you guys don't know yet because I haven't updated yet. I have... I'll put this glue on the bottom of this plastic piece here. So on my Idic Beers Get It Painted challenge, I'm doing, at the moment, I'm on my crisis suits. And while I was painting them, I was trying to come up with how I wanted to do the paint and how I wanted to do things. Well, I've decided the Black Guard is what they're going to be called. And it just dawned on me, like, I really like Farside Enclave. I don't like necessarily that his suits are troop choices, because I don't want to go a suit heavy army all the time. But it does kind of fit with my character being trained by Farsight and being like, I'm in my story mode in my head. He is almost like Starlight. Farsight's best friend. Like they could be seen as brothers, more or less. And like I said, they were trained together, or he trained him. You know, he learned the ways of Farsight. I'm gonna probably use Farsight's stats for him because I'm even gonna build a model that's close to it. Yeah, put one more right there. But in doing the Farside Enclave has the thing called the 8. So I was like, how can I tie the 8 in? And then that's when I came up with the Black Guard. And the Black Guard will be my version of the 8 for my Macross Sept. There we go. Oh, did I glue it to my finger and not the thing? Yep. So I will eventually work on that. So right now I'm just getting 3 of the guys done, and I do have that like souped up broadside I did, the converted broadside that has the ghost keel legs, and I'll use that for the broadside character in the 8. But now the Black Guard. So I'm gonna get this prepped and ready too. And now for this, if I have my little snippety clippers, to make this look more buried in the dirt like I did the last one, I come at it and I use these little clippers and I pick an angle. I'll get some of it off first. We're going to do it right here. There you go. Now the way I cut it, it would go flat on the base there, but I don't want that. I want it to bury in more. So then I'll come at it with the X-Acto knife and I'll just start trimming down edges. Oop. And have little plastic pieces fly and hit me in the face because it's awesome. There we go. So I just kind of whittled it down a little bit more, made it a little flatter, and it'll fit like that once I glue it down. Oh, yeah, you can't see it, my big fat fingers in the way. It'll fit like so. So I'm going to go ahead and add glue. I glue to the top of this because I'm having it kind of leaning on this rock a little bit. My arm's going to be in the way for a second because I want to hold this there, and I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it a little better. Excuse me. And again, like I said, I don't get rid of these cork pieces because I will break them down and I can throw them in my grit bucket. Okay, so let's go ahead. I wanted to add that canteen. Let's add it right here. If I had an Imperial Guard gun, I'd put it on there. So then you end up with a base like this. I'm going to pause. I'm going to add some more light on this thing. Hope that looks a little better. So you end up with a base like that. Just a little cork. Little thing. Like, yeah, that's a neat base, but it needs more. It needs dirt and grit. And like I said, I had my dirt and grit first. So then here we got this. You got a little canteen, a couple little mounds. I said I'm using this for the broadside. It'd been good probably to have the broadside out so I could see where his feet are going to lay, because that's going to be the issue now. I may have to tweak it and trim it later on because I don't know if he'll work on here. Anyway, this is a basing tutorial, and it's my tutorial, so if I didn't mess up somewhere, it wouldn't be me. I'm going to go ahead and clean up my little bits. Always clean your workspace. Use a little brush. Just sweep, sweep, sweep all day long. Sweep, sweep, sweep while I sing this song. There we go. Alright, so this is dry. This is still a little wet. So what I will do now with the Elmer's glue, if this was regular Elmer's glue, it'd be a lot better because it's thicker and it's stickier. This watered down version tends to, it's sticky, yes, but it tends to not hold as well in the beginning. It holds better after it dries. See how wet and runny it is? It'll run off the edges a little bit. Just do that little cleanup. Alright, so my first step in this process is getting my hands all up in the way. As I put this on my little base, or on my little dealio, I use this lid. It's the lid to my grit container, but I use it to catch the grit so I don't lose it. And I just dump it on there, just like you would any other grit. And then dump it off. And I get a start on there, okay? Now, here's where the fun part comes in for me. I'll set this right here. Start over from scratch. Let me get this to kind of bring the camera up just a little bit more. Or bring it up to the camera a little bit more. So here we go. Now I will start making piles. I will start figuring out how I want this to fit in together, how I want it to blend. And I'll use the little, a little bit at a time too. I'll just put a little in there. And I'll, for a base like this, and I'll just go around and kind of fill up the little areas. Building mounds and stuff to kind of see. And so I want this to look like it was jammed in the ground like I did on the other one. So I'll build that up a little bit. I want to kind of make the slopes blend a little better to the ground on there. I may leave some of this right here, this edges, for texture, which is as fun to do. I'm going to adjust this camera. That's a lot better. So we have something like this. I would call this base 75% done. I want to blend in a little bit more, so I'll get something over here. I want to make this a little higher on this side. Yeah, I see something like that. Now, what I did there, all that is, it'll blow right off, right? And just knock it on off. So that I'll come in and I will add the alcohol, let it saturate through the dirt and the grit. Almost on the entire, well, pretty much it is the entire base. Every drop of it, every little bit, even on the cork. And if I have any dirt and stuff on top of this, I'll do that too. Once I've done that, you see that's all saturated now, all filled out. I'll come back with the glue, and when I hit it, it soaks up in there. What I'm using for droppers is, you know anybody who does the vaping stuff? This is like what they use for their flavors or whatever they do. I'm not down with that stuff, so I don't know too much about it. Not that I'm not down with it. I mean, you do what you want to do. It is your life. I do not take away from your life. But I just don't know anything about vaping. I just know this is what they put their juices in. And so yeah, I just squirt that on and let it flow through and let it soak. And then I'll give the base a once over just to make sure, like if I like everything, I'm happy with everything I've done on here. And then, boom, I will set this aside and let it dry. And I'll do the same thing on this next one. We're going to fill it out. And with it being such a bigger base, I will do more. I may hide some of the things I put on there. Like I may hide some of these rocks that go on there. I may fill that up so much that they're gone. But let's do the same thing again. I'm going to do this off camera real quick, just so I can do it faster. Put this glue on here. I hope I don't run out of glue, because my glue is in the living room and I don't want to fill it up. Sweep, 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 sweep. Brush, 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 brush. All brush, 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 brush. I'm brushing glue around a circle. Wiping off the edges a little bit. Boom. It's covered in glue. Then I grab my little dumper and I dump. I wish I was left-handed. Sometimes I'll do it like if I'm dumping like this and I just like the way the stuff landed on there, I may leave it, you know. I may just flat out do it like that. Yeah, see? I kind of like the way that piles up. Except for when I did that in the middle and it all fell in the middle. The reason I clean that off is because sometimes the glue will run down the edges. And it runs down the edges, it'll stick to any of the grit around it, and I gotta kind of break that off, and that kind of makes it the stability of the grit go away, like it just did. See? Ooh. Yeah. So I like the way that looks. I like how the build up in the pile and it blends in the rocks, and you have still got these little edge textures here that I can dry brush on. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adding the alcohol. And what I usually do, and what's a smart idea, give these things a day to dry to be safe. They're typically dried. There's a dog hair on there. Or cat hair, I don't know. They'll typically dry within, by the end of the day, you'll be good to go on them. I just like giving them that extra day just to be extra safe. You'll be able to tell, too, if they're not dry. They'll look dry, and you'll think they're dry. If you can kind of go up to it and push down gently on it, and it kind of gives a little bit, it's not dry. When this is dry, it'll feel like it's a solid piece. It'll feel like it was made that way. That's why I like these bases really good. are really good. That's so dumb, Richard. Learn how to speak. That's why I like these bases a lot. So boom, there you go. It is covered in alcohol. You can tell if you missed a spot with the alcohol too, because when you hit it, the glue won't flow. Because you know if the drop, like look over here. Well, it's white, you're not going to see it very well, but if you hit it, you drop it, it just stays in a little ball. Well, when you hit on here, you notice it kind of spreads out. That means you know you've got a good saturated area of alcohol. And you can tell when you've got a lot, too much, it'll start to run over the edges. And like I said, I'll just wipe that off with my finger. We'll just go through and fill it out. I haven't figured out if there's like too much to do. Like if you can do too much at this. Honestly, I mean, it will start to fill in the details. Like you'll lose some of the textures if you put too much glue on it. It'll just be smoothed over. So I wouldn't go extra super crazy with it. Or actually, I would. I would totally mess it up. Trust me. But yeah, just do this until it fills up. Until you get it covered. Oopsie, ran off a little bit there. Now, like I said, since this takes a day to dry, you won't be able to see the finished product. Because of that. Got extra dirt up on there. Well, at least the finished product of these guys. I'll probably show it later on or something in another video. I'll be like, oh, hey, by the way, these bases. I'm going to zoom in on this with my face. Really don't like that dog hair on there. I don't have tweezers in here to pull it out. So now, even because of the way this is and how you do this, it's easy to add to it. Right now, you can take away from it. Yes, you could just wipe everything off and get gunk and glue everywhere. But right now, once it's dried and done, like this over here, the glue's kind of starting to turn clear. It's already starting to dry a little bit. And blend it in. And when it's done, like I said, it'll all be solid. Now I can touch this and mush it down. It'll still move. I'm going to set this off to the side. And then I'm going to grab... Well, that's primed. I think everything's primed that I've done this to already. Where is that base? Yeah, here it is. So I did the same thing to this. See, these are mounds of my grit. And it's daggum hard. That hurt my finger. Ow. Little bits of, I cut the cork board real thin. But yeah, I just layered sand. Like that right there is a pile right in here. That's a pile of just the finest sand right there. And covered it with glue. Now, if you're type of person who paints his bases, this is perfect. This works out great. You'll go through and you'll paint your bases down, dry brush them and add your stuff and all that, however you want to do it. If you're the person that likes using the natural colors, like using dirt as dirt, lighter grit, the flocking, like green flock and then static grass, things like that. You can still do this to it. You can still do it this way, but you have to be more precise and more fine with it. You have to actually plan out where you're going to put your dirt, where you're going to put everything. You'll sprinkle that on. You can do it bits at a time. You'll sprinkle on your section and then just add your little alcohol and your glue and then do it that way. But it's doable. You can do it that way too. I don't seal the grass on afterwards. I glue it like this. These are tufts from somewhere. I can't remember where I got them. I remember that Army Painter or somebody else. I think it's Brush for Hire. But most of them say they're sticky, self-adhesive as is, but I've found that they're not. You can eventually pluck them right off. It's not like they dry. They're like stickers. You can pull them off. So what I'll do is I'll just do a little dollop of glue, dip it in there, and then push it on there and use an X-Acto knife or something and make sure I press it in all the cracks, or the tweezers I use are fine enough that'll do it. But to make sure they stick on good. But then I don't seal them afterwards. Like model train people will spray their wet water and then their PVA seal mix on top of that to make them extra sticky and extra stuck. But for a base like this, I don't feel the need in it. If it comes off, it comes off. It's no big deal. If I was doing like a big old huge terrain piece, then yeah, probably I would come back and seal it. I do this same thing with lichen. You buy that green lichen from like the dollar store or whatever. You get a big old bag of it. It's like that kind of weird mossy lichen stuff. I'll take it and I'll chop it up with scissors really fine. And where is that? Oh, there it is. It's right here. Like I did on for Frost and Fists dealy. I'll take that. It's chopped up really fine. I even use some full pieces that aren't. And I'll do the same thing. I'll glue it down, put a little glue so it sticks, and then I'll come back with the alcohol and then the watered down PVA and seal it in there really good. And it's semi hard. It's still movable. It's still flexible, but it seals it on there and it's glued to the base. Like this big old batch of it under here, I did the same thing to it. It's glued on there. I could come through and pull it off if I wanted to, but why would I want to do that? So yeah, I did that on all sides. And here's even a bigger chunk. I just soaked it with the alcohol and then dropped on the little spritz of glue, saturated it with the glue and the alcohol, and it seals it on there. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you kind of got some ideas and kind of see how I do my things and what I do on my bases. It's simple. It's really easy, not bad. Your biggest issues is going to be finding something you can use to dropper it on there. I like droppers better than spray. Spray makes sense for large areas, but for little things like this, like bases and stuff, I like the droppers because I can get a fine little point and get in there and just barely dab it in. You know what I'm saying? And then sorry, I got slightly distracted. Something popped up on the screen over here. Yeah, you need the dropper bottles so you can get some fine areas. You can mist it if you're doing large, like say you were doing a terrain board. A spray would probably help, like some kind of spray bottle. I was talking to somebody. I'm talking to Freak over at Frost and Fifth, and I think he heard me say something when I said spraying on the glue. Spraying on the glue, I misspoke, was the dropper bottles. But he had made a comment, do you run it through your airbrush? And you could run it through your airbrush. You thin it down enough, glue and water, PVA glue and water, it's like milk. It's going to thin down quite a bit. But what you're going to do is you're going to have to use it quickly, get it out of there and get it cleaned up, because glue will gunk up your airbrush. Not permanently. PVA glue, you can soak it because it's water soluble. You can soak it in water for a while. Could take a few days, but you could eventually get it clean, in my opinion. If you're afraid of it, don't try it. But if you're willing to try it, try it. I personally have 5 airbrushes, so I can use one to waste, and I don't mind. They're cheapo, crappy airbrushes that I've picked up along the way, birthdays, and things I've had for years. And I feel like airbrushes are way more versatile than people let them on to be. They're not delicate instruments. They can take a beating, to be honest with you. It's the needles. Even the needle. You can, when you get a hooked needle, that was the thing I had to deal with in when I airbrush t-shirts a lot. You can fix a hooked needle. It's not like a permanent death. You could fix it a few times before you have to replace it. Maybe I'll show in a video how you do that. I'll see if I have a hooked needle and I'll go through and I'll show you. I'll keep that in there with that. I'll go ahead and put that in there too. More grit. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all I got for today. I'm gonna end it here. We'll put these two bases back up here so you can kind of see where they were. Now this one's gone all clear, so you can see the natural colors again. This one's getting there. That one's a little bit more saturated, but those are my two bases. It's all about that base, baby. So in the next video, I'm gonna do something tricky and fancy and fun with the base. Look at it coming out next week, possibly. I'll do it then. I'm going out of town this weekend, maybe, if I don't get sick. I've already been kind of fluttering on the sickness this week, but we'll see. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'm just going to leave you with that little tease, and then we're going to end this now because I'm starting to lose my mind a little bit. I love you all. I thank you so much, guys. Keep rocking that nerd life, my friends. I'll see you later.